Chakotay's Star Trek promotion almost made Chris Pine's Kirk becoming captain seem logical. When Star Trek Prodigy brought back Robert Beltran's Chakotay and confirmed that he'd finally achieved the rank of captain, it was one of those moments that felt deeply earned. For Voyager fans, it was validation decades in the making. But what's funny about Chakotay's promotion isn't just that it gave an underrated Starfleet officer his due. It also inadvertently made one of the franchise's most controversial promotions suddenly look reasonable. Yes, I'm talking about Chris Pine's James T. Kirk from J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies, the cocky, rule-breaking cadet who was handed the captain's chair after a single mission. Chakotay's story, especially as expanded in Prodigy, serves as a perfect contrast to Pine's Kirk. It highlights how hard Starfleet command is supposed to be earned through experience, leadership, and a long road of discipline. And yet, by showing how far Chakotay had to come, his promotion actually reframes Kirk's rise as less absurd than fans once thought. Because if anyone earned the captain's seat the slow way, it was Chakotay, and in doing so, he inadvertently made Kirk's fast track feel like a quirk of destiny rather than a betrayal of Starfleet tradition. From Maquis rebel to Starfleet captain, Chakotay's journey revisited. When Star Trek Voyager first introduced Commander Chakotay, he wasn't even part of Starfleet. He'd resigned his commission to join the Maquis, a rebel group resisting the Cardassians and the Federation's peace treaties that abandoned border colonies. His early story was defined by defiance, a man who valued loyalty and principle above bureaucratic orders. Then Voyager was thrown into the Delta Quadrant, and everything changed. The necessity of survival forced the Maquis and Starfleet crews to merge, and Chakotay became Captain Janeway's first officer, not because Starfleet approved it, but because she needed a leader who understood her divided crew. Over 7 seasons, Chakotay went from outlaw to diplomat, soldier to mentor. He became Janeway's anchor, the one who balanced her moral compass when isolation and impossible choices tested her. That transformation wasn't flashy. There were no grand promotions, no medals pinned on his chest. It was a quiet evolution built on trust and integrity. And that's why Prodigy's reveal that Chakotay eventually became a Starfleet captain wasn't just satisfying, it was poetic justice. Starfleet may take decades to reward those who break its rules for the right reasons, but it eventually recognizes leadership when it sees it. Chris Pine's Kirk, the antithesis of earned command. Then there's Chris Pine's version of James T. Kirk. When Star Trek 2009 premiered, fans were divided. The film was exciting, emotional, and a bold reboot, but it broke one major unwritten law of Trek. You don't make a captain out of a cadet. Pine's Kirk went from Iowa troublemaker to Starfleet Academy student to captain of the Enterprise in a matter of days. No service record, no command experience, no time in the trenches. For a franchise that had built its ethos around patience and meritocracy, it felt like an insult to Starfleet's hierarchy. Compare him to Picard, who spent decades working up from lieutenant to captain, or Sisko, who'd already commanded a starship before taking over Deep Space Nine. Even Janeway had a long service record and advanced scientific expertise. Kirk's promotion, by contrast, seemed like a reward for chaos. He saved the day, sure, but so had countless officers who didn't immediately get their own starship. Fans criticized the reboot for turning Starfleet into a flashy meritocracy where charisma outweighed experience. But with Chakotay's eventual rise, something fascinating happens when you look back. His hard-won promotion reframes the idea of command in Starfleet, not as a rigid hierarchy, but as a reflection of the Federation's core belief: people can change. Chakotay and Kirk, two sides of Starfleet's risk philosophy. Starfleet has always been about potential. It's an organization that believes in growth, redemption, and second chances. And that's exactly what unites Chakotay and Pine's Kirk, even though they took opposite paths to the captain's chair. Chakotay represents the slow-burning evolution of character. He earned his second chance the long way, proving through daily service that ideals matter more than titles. He rejoined Starfleet not because they forgave him, but because he proved he still embodied its principles. Kirk, on the other hand, is Starfleet's leap of faith, the embodiment of potential energy. The Federation saw in him what Pike and Spock did, an instinctual leader whose unconventional methods could save lives. His promotion might have been rash, but it was also a statement. Sometimes the galaxy doesn't wait for a committee to rubber stamp leadership. And in that light, Chakotay's eventual promotion actually justifies Kirk's. Because Starfleet clearly does reward those who defy its norms, as long as they do it for the right reasons. Chakotay's rise shows that Starfleet doesn't hold grudges forever. It forgives, it evolves. The emotional weight of earning a chair. There's also an emotional resonance to Chakotay's journey that highlights what command truly means in Star Trek. In Voyager, Chakotay was always second in command, always defined in relation to Janeway. His loyalty was his defining trait, but that loyalty sometimes meant sacrificing his own ambitions. In Prodigy, when he's revealed as a captain stranded across time, the weight of that rank feels heavier than Kirk's ever did. Chakotay didn't just inherit a title, he embodied it. His command wasn't about authority, it was about responsibility. This is where the contrast with Pine's Kirk becomes striking. When Kirk sits in the captain's chair for the first time, it feels exhilarating. When Chakotay sits in it, it feels earned. One is a burst of destiny, the other a lifetime of growth. But both types of command are quintessentially Star Trek. One reflects the optimism that greatness can emerge suddenly. The other reminds us that greatness must be nurtured. Chakotay's promotion gives meaning to both philosophies. Starfleet promotions, merit, forgiveness, and the human element. Starfleet's command structure has always reflected its moral vision. It rewards those who show courage, compassion, and intellect, not just obedience. The idea that someone like Chakotay, who once rebelled against Starfleet, could become a captain decades later isn't just a narrative twist, it's a reaffirmation of Star Trek's belief in progress and reconciliation. It's the same ethos that allowed Kirk's meteoric rise. Starfleet doesn't promote perfect officers, it promotes human ones. Kirk's impulsive genius, like Chakotay's principled rebellion, tested Starfleet's limits, but ultimately reinforced its ideals. The franchise thrives on characters who push boundaries, who question the system from within. In that sense, both men prove that command in Starfleet isn't about following the rules, but about understanding when to break them for the greater good. The long road to Captain Chakotay made Star Trek feel real again. One of the most powerful things about Chakotay's promotion in Prodigy is how it restores realism to the Star Trek timeline. In a universe where warp drives, wormholes, and time travel exist, emotional and professional growth still takes time. Chakotay's journey spans decades. He went from fugitive to Federation officer, mentor to commander, and finally, captain. It feels like a career that could exist in the real world, full of setbacks, compromises, and quiet victories. And because of that, it gives retroactive legitimacy to Starfleet as an institution. It reminds viewers that, while Kirk's rise might have been cinematic fantasy, there's still an infrastructure in the Federation that values the slow, steady climb. Chakotay's command doesn't make Kirk seem